Are we going live?
We're live.
All right, hey guys, we're live for another episode of Keeping It Real. And if you're just tuning in, have never seen a Keeping It Real, I'm Jeff Manson. I'm a Hawaii real estate broker and founder of Real Geeks. And my co-host is Frank Klesitz. He's the CEO of Viral Marketing. And today's episode is converting more Zillow leads and getting a higher ROI. And our guest is Mark Martin, and he's trying to get his headset to work right now. So while he's doing that, Frank, can you go ahead and let them know, if they're just tuning in, how they can actually follow us and get notifications if they want to of future episodes?
Great. Well, thanks for joining us, everyone. And you can check us out on iTunes. Search Real Geeks on iTunes or Keep It Real on iTunes. It's going to show up. Also, we have our Facebook page, the Real Geeks Facebook page. We also have keepingitreal.com, where you post them all on a website where you can see all the replays right there. And you can also put your email address in to get notifications when we have new shows. That's all the emails you're going to get. If you put your email address in there, get notifications of new shows. We're also on YouTube, the Real Geeks YouTube channel, and Google+. You can follow Real Geeks on Google+.
Yeah, that's great. And today we have Mark Martin on. He's an Austin real estate agent. We've done an episode about this same topic probably about 2 years ago, and is really popular, and things have changed. And we thought it'd be a good time to just go ahead and address this, because there's a lot of things changing at Zillow, and they have a lot more opportunities and stuff, and Mark's crushing it using Zillow. He's been in the real estate business since 1999, and he's getting 8.5 times ROI working Zillow Leads. And I think year to date from Zillow Leads, him and his team have generated 35 transactions just from Zillow Leads alone. So Mark he's just crushing it, and to get an 8.5 times return on what you're spending is pretty amazing these days. And hey, welcome back, Mark.
Thanks, guys. So Frank, I apologize, but we're going to have to roll with this setup.
No, works just fine. If anything, just make sure you keep your speakers down a little bit. It sounds fine right now. There's no reverb.
Cool. All right. Awesome.
Okay, and also Mark also coaches. Do you still coach, Mark?
I do. Yeah, absolutely.
And then how many hours a week are you working in real estate, and how many are you doing like coaching?
Probably 20 or less in real estate, and I work about 10 hours a week on the coaching. I coach for Dirk Zeller and Real Estate Champions. Just I have some select clients that we work with across the country.
Awesome. And the rest of the time you're like on the lake or something?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I visited Mark, and I actually surfed behind his boat. It was a lot of fun. Actually, me and Scott that worked with Frank. Maybe if Frank goes out there this August, we'll get him behind the boat. That would be fun.
Yeah, you like that, wouldn't you?
I would love that. I mean, I'll what is it? Facebook Live all the way on that one. Anyway, so where do you want to dive in? Do we want to go about any story for people that don't know who where Mark is, where he's done, what he's come back done? Do you want to dive in there and give a little bit of background about yourself, Mark, or would you rather just dive in what you're doing and how you're doing so well with the Zillow?
Well, I think we went over the background last time, and I got a ton of great feedback about it. So I think if we can do that, it won't take long. But I had so many people reach out; it was really cool. So brief rundown: started the business '99, like you said. I started in Florida. I moved to Texas, to Austin in 2000. Just calling expireds, prospecting. I was coached by a Mike Ferry coach at the time, and so I was just hammering the phones, and built it up to 2004. I guess we were doing about 20 million, 25 million, myself and a business partner, and just rocking and rolling. So I did the natural course of what happens typically with agents is the ego kicks in, and opened up my own brokerage. I thought, hey, I can do this better than everybody else, and so opened up a brokerage. I recruited 160 agents in about 18 months. We were killing it. Quickly became one of the top 10 brokerages in town, and then the market crashed in 07, 08, and the model that we were operating under, we were spending a ton, and when the transaction volume fell off, we couldn't cut our spend fast enough, and so we lost everything. I lost between myself, my business partner, our investors. We probably lost several $1,000,000, and I ended up leaving the business. It was horrible, and so. I watched The Big Short the other night. I don't know if you guys have seen that movie or not, but that was pretty much.
I loved it. I was actually watching on the plane, laughing the whole time, and I think people were looking at me like he's laughing at that, only because we all experienced it.
Exactly.
Well, Jeff laughs at it, and Mark like ruined his life.
Yeah, exactly. So I won't blame my divorce on that, but that was not a good time. I'm gonna shed the jacket real quick. So hold on.
Go for it.
But it was a horrible time, and it just all fell apart. And so I ended up moving to Naples, Florida, with a buddy of mine. Lived with him and his family, and in an extra bedroom. And I prospected for him, and we were working short sales and just trying to grind it out. And I ended up that even wasn't working. Moved at 46 years old. See, I'm 51 now, so 45, 46 years old. I moved back in with my mom here in the Austin area. Had no money, no car, no cell phone, no nothing. And I had found a job that would cover my child support, because in Texas you can't miss your child support or you go bye-bye. So.
Oh yeah, they'll take you to jail if you miss your child support.
So that wasn't an option. So I had to cover that, and so anyway, borrowed some money from my mom, and got my real estate license reenacted and joined the board. Got top producer, Red X, a cell phone, and started prospecting again and built back the business. Did $10 million my first year back, and was able to pay her back and get my own place again and just kind of get back on my feet. But I had, you start out with one listing, and you do an open house, and you try to get a buyer, and you try to sell that listing, and then you just keep going. And we were able to build it back. And then my business partner, Russell, we were able to put our businesses together in 2012. And so we went from 10 to about 18 million, and then we hired Dirk Zeller as our coach. And we went from 18 million to 30 plus million in a year, and that was just freaking awesome. So 2013 was our biggest year until this year. 2014, hired a couple of buyer's agents, and so that's our current team. I've got 2 buyer's agents, myself, my business partner. We have a virtual assistant who's in North Carolina, and we have one virtual caller with 1,000 calls a day who's in the Philippines, and she dials all day. So
awesome. So that's a great story. I think everybody needs to hear it. What I'd like to know is, when you got back in and you got your license, you're living at your mom's house. What did you start prospecting, and how did that all look?
So that was 2010. And so I was prospecting, I was calling expireds and for sale by owners. My first listing was a FSBO, and just using the same scripts that I had always used before, the Mike Ferry scripts, and put my own little twist on them. But it was just grinding in and out and making the contacts, and I had a goal of 20 contacts a day, and I didn't quit until I hit that. And then I realized I needed even more contacts to get to where I wanted to go, so I raised it to 30. And I was driving her cute green Mercury to listing appointments, and with signs in the back, and it was just, it was the most humbling time of my life. But at the same time, it taught me that no matter how bad it gets, one of my mentors, a guy named John Cheplack, you may have heard of him, but he said, until you hit rock bottom, you can't bounce back up. And I didn't have an addiction problem. My problem wasn't, drugs or alcohol or anything like that. My rock bottom came from running out of money, and I I couldn't reinvent myself. So I just started back doing the basics, the absolute basics, and that's what we work on in coaching. Is, you know, everybody wants to. I've got it on my whiteboard up here, a quote by Mike Ferry that I've had for years, and says, "You can buy the business, or you can wait on the business, or you can go find it every day." And so I had to go find it. I didn't have any money to buy it. I didn't have any time to wait on it, so I had to go find it.
So before, the reason why you crashed was the market was rolling, and you started over leveraging and buying. You got out of that mindset, and you started like buying and saying, "Hey, we can just buy all this stuff, and things are great." And then when the market
another critical mistake that I see a lot of people do, and I did it, but I became a broker, and I thought, hey, it'll be easier to recruit agents if I'm not competing against them. So I stopped selling real estate, and that was another crucial mistake, because I had all this momentum and all this past client business that I could have kept going, and I just shut it off and started recruiting agents and started training them, and I ended up training my competition. So now some of the best, some of our best agents in the marketplace used to work for me in my brokerage. I trained them. So I ended up training my competition.
So let me ask you a question. I know we're going to hit the Zillow stuff. A lot of people tuned in to Zillow, but this is really important because you got to build a foundation in real estate, and you got to. We're in a business that takes skills. I don't care whether you're buying Zillow leads and converting those, or whatever you're doing, or even if you're working in your center of influence and past clients, you still got to work on your communication skills, and you got to have some work ethic, and you got to follow systems. If you want to build a business that's sustainable and that's going to grow. I mean, if you're just, I don't know, I think I heard Tom Ferry say a lifestyle agent on something just recently that I was watching. If you're a lifestyle agent, you only want to do 4 to 6 and cruise around and drive in a car and go to all the functions, that's fine. And a lot of agents should do that. But if you actually want to build a good business, be able to support a family and get savings and invest in stuff, you need a foundation, right?
Right.
And so you went back. And hitting rock bottom made you get back down in the dirt and be a practitioner and start prospecting and doing the foundational things. And then now you've progressed, you've built the team up, and then are you still doing that stuff along with the Zillow stuff?
We are, but I don't do it. The only thing I do on the team-wise, is give them a hard time and try to hold them accountable, but also Russell and myself do all of the listings. We don't have the buyers agents running listing appointments, but we have them focused on buyers. So the listing appointments that either the caller in the Philippines generates for us, or that we generate from our own sphere and past clients and so forth, then he and I go on those appointments.
But you've delegated and you're leveraging out with a caller, but you've delegated the finding the nuggets with the caller, right? Are they also doing expired listings and FSBOs as well?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're still doing the basics. You've delegated that out so they can identify the opportunities, and then you and Russell then follow up on those hotter opportunities and close their appointments and get the listings, correct?
Because Frank turned me on to the predictable revenue book. And we read that, and we're like, holy crap, we're doing all the prospecting and the stuff, that takes so much time. We can leverage those dollars and that time and only be looking at the higher level opportunities that we call them highlighted leads that they give to us. Tim Heil has Phone Animal. It's the same thing, the same concept with call center and outbound dialing. And I forgot what he calls his. Ours are highlighted leads. His is opportunities or something. But it's not a confirmed. They're not going to set 5 appointments a day for you, but they're going to talk to people and have conversations at a decent level that we can come back in and follow up with those conversations and close them for actual appointments. Sometimes they'll get an actual listing appointment, and that's awesome. But most of the time, they're simply generating opportunities for Russell and I to come back in and have a deeper conversation, pre-qualify them further and harder, and then turn that into an actual listing.
So you're leveraging your time. You're letting them find the opportunity. So then when you're actually on the phone calling these, you can talk to more high qualified people, therefore list more properties.
Exactly.
And get more business.
And listings are tough, man. I mean, I don't care what market you're in right now. You know, I talk with my coaching clients about it all the time, but you know, listings right now are so tough. So we've got to be on our game when we actually get the opportunity to be in front of somebody, because we can't afford to lose. And it's there's so much competition, and now everybody thinks it's, you know, let's go FISBO, you know, and thinks it's easy to sell. And there's a ton of agents out there discounting. We don't discount, so that's not an option. So we have to win it on value and experience and negotiation and all of that. So it's
we're going to dive into Zillow. I got another question. So because something hit me home. You said we got to be on our game when we're talking to these people. So by letting them find all these opportunities, and then you calling these people that you know are high probable opportunities, your energy level is probably higher, instead of just the mundane thing of just call, ring, answer, and you're less likely to fall into that whole zombie mode. You're probably a lot more focused, and you're able to stay on your game because you know that these things matter. You're going to be talking to the next person that's got an opportunity.
Absolutely, because I'm able to now pull up the listing, look at what happened before, look at the pictures, you know, the crappy pictures or whatever the problem was, so that when I call them, I've got a pretty good idea of what happened last time, if it was an expired, right?
Sure.
And I'm able to do the research on the neighborhood and all that. So when I call them, it's a really focused call versus me sitting there on the dialer waiting for somebody to pick up, and then it flashes in front of me with their address, and I've never seen it before in my life, and I don't know how to pronounce their name, so I'm, you know, fumbling like we all do. This is a great way to highlight those opportunities and go to a higher level. And it's the Predictable Revenue book talks about it, and Aaron talks about it in the book, is using levels of talent. And Frank, interject here because you know it better than me, but using specific levels of talent to identify those opportunities, and then using closers to come in and close. We do the same thing on the buyer side. You know, we have the Zillow concierge calling the Zillow leads when they come in. They're not setting an appointment for us, but they're doing a live handoff to us if they can reach them. And then Russell and I will do the conversion because we're the best converters. And we can then set the appointment for the buyer's agent to either show or meet them for a buyer consult or whatever. So it's using those levels so that I can leverage time and money to go out and reinvest in other stuff.
Yeah, I'll share a little bit about that just because it's kind of interesting. For one of the things we'll talk about today is lead follow-up with Zillow Leads. And I'm a big proponent, and this is very different way of thinking, but salespeople shouldn't prospect. Salespeople should be selling, not prospecting.
Right.
And you can hire people for a lot less money than what you cost to sell to do your prospecting for you.
Yep.
So generally speaking, I wrote this down. You have people doing dedicated outbound, and all they're doing is outbound. Then you have people doing dedicated inbound. So these are all the lead responses, referrals, buyer leads, right? And their job is to find out, okay, who's actually an interested leads. These are raw leads. They're filtered through the raw leads, and they're passing good leads to you, the salesperson, right? And then you have a person doing outbound. They're making just sold calls, expired, fizzle, whatever, having a conversation as far as they could take it without being licensed. And if they're actually interested, they pass the leads to you here. So now all you're dealing with is really, really good leads. You've hired people to filter through all the raw stuff. You sign them up, and in most businesses, then they go to an account manager. And some real estate teams, you have someone doing nothing but just doing listing and buyer presentations. And once the contract is signed, then it goes to actually like an account manager or somebody that actually runs it. And they do a really good job to get referrals, which goes back to the person doing the referral follow-up here. Little lesson.
Good start. Thanks, Frank.
You're welcome, everybody.
All right, so let's dive in. So we got a good background and a good, I think, idea or good picture. People can see how you're running your business. And then when did you decide, or how long have you been working the Zillow Leads? And can you explain like the progression and how you work? I want to dive in deep on the Zillow stuff because you're getting 8.5 times ROI on what you're
saying. And it's certainly not meant to be a Zillow commercial. That's not what this is about. It's more how do we've we feel like in Austin, Texas, okay, and it varies by market. There's some markets that Zillow doesn't seem to work as well. There's agents that crush it with Google. There's agents that crush it with Facebook. We just happen to hone in on Zillow for our market, and we just decided we can't be good at everything, and we can't spend money on, massive pay-per-click budgets and massive Facebook budgets and Zillow budgets and everything else. None of it's cheap, and we want to focus really heavily on profitability and return. So I started measuring ROI 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, with Nick Kramer, who was managing my PPC accounts at the time. And Nick introduced me to you, Jeff, and then we got a Geeks site, and we got up and running and all of that. But here in Austin, and this is not true in all markets, but here in Austin, and Jeff, you can attest to this because you've looked at this with us, Google is extremely expensive for what you get. And so in Austin, we watched our ROI on Google drop, and we were watching our Zillow ROI come up. And I'm like, all right, so what if we shifted those monies and spent more on the Zillow piece to try to drive the inbound buyer side of the business? Because sign calls are non-existent now. We do open houses occasionally, but it's not a mainstay of our business. So we had to look at what's given us a return, and then shifting dollars into that. And so, but lead conversion, bringing it into the funnel and then converting and getting it into a contract, it doesn't matter what the source is, the fundamentals are the same, right?
I would agree.
We've got, there's guys out there just killing it on Facebook. I don't get that yet, and I'm gonna look at it, but it's for us right now, Zillow just happens to be what our biggest funnel source is, because that's where we're spending the most amount of money. And the buyers that we're finding on Zillow are typically seem to be raising their hand and saying, we're ready, either go look at this house or we're going to be transacting fairly quickly. And so that's why we picked Zillow. Is it the best system? Is it the best? Are they out to get realtors? I have no idea. I really don't care. As long as I'm making money on it and we're all profiting, and I'm able to use Geeks to help me convert those leads and get them off of Zillow, which is one of the fundamentals, is bring them in, use the funnel to bring them in and attract them, but then using Geeks and the back end of Geeks to nurture and convert them into actual buyers for us with the search functions and the daily drips on them, and our 10 days of pain that we have built in, and everything that we built into the back end of Geeks, that we can use that to convert that buyer. Because we may take them out and show them a house, and they may not like that house, or they may not like the 5 houses we show them. There's a ton of buyers right now that are shopping realtors. So we have to be able to grab them, get them engaged. We work really hard to get a buyer consultation and get a signed buyer's representation agreement. So that I tell my guys, we can't count them in our pipeline unless they've got a signed buyer's rep agreement with us. They're not a buyer for us unless they're committed. And one of my favorite sayings is, when I'm talking to a buyer and I'm explaining the process in the initial conversation, I tell them, my team and I are committed to working with the buyers who are committed to working with us. And I ask them, does that make sense? And I try to gain agreement with them, because if they're shopping realtors and there's 4 realtors that show up on Zillow, the listing agent, and then 3 people who have paid to be there, and every time they click on a new listing, another 4 agents show up. So they can click on any of them, or they can click on all of them. There's no loyalty. So we have to be able to establish loyalty with them up front, and then drive to either a buyer consultation with them where we're explaining the process, getting buyer's rep signed, all of that stuff, or actually showing them properties if we can discern that they're pre-approved, or they've got the cash and they're ready to go, and this is the property.
All right, so I want to go dive back in deeper and go through all the processes, whether you get them and talk to them or whether you don't, and then the objective obviously is to get an appointment, and if you don't get an appointment, what your other secondary objective is, and then how you get them through the funnel step by step. And yeah, I would agree that every market's different. I would double check in. I would start looking into Facebook, because right now I just want to make a public announcement. Right now, Facebook is still undervalued. So people tuning in right now, for as far as lead gen to a site, Facebook is about 40 to 60% more affordable than Google right now. So it's really undervalued. It's not going to last undervalued. So I would start researching and getting into that before it then turns in, everybody bidding up the price. But anyhow, let's go back in. So a lead comes in. You guys get notified. Just walk us through exactly, and if you don't get them, what happens, and then your follow up, and then if you do get a hold of them, what you do. I want to get your different 2 or 3 different funnels or scenarios.
Okay, I'm gonna
dive in deep.
I'm gonna give you the most important one. Okay, there's several different lead methods that they can come in. If I can find the screenshot.
Now, one of the things you did give us, Mark, earlier is Mark wrote a 5 core rules for lead conversion packet, and I put a link to that in the comments below if you're watching this on the Google Plus page.
Can you read us off that link, though, Frank? Because people are going to be watching this at a later date or watching the replay, and they're not going to see the comment. So can you actually read that URL or domain or whatever it is?
Absolutely. Are you ready? It is www.realestatechampions.com/ILC.
Okay, so it's realestatechampions.com/ILC. LC. Does it have to be all caps, or does it matter?
It matters.
It could be upper or lowercase, right?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right, Mark.
All right, so of course I can't find what I was looking for, but I have a screenshot. But when my phone rings, and it is, here, I can do it this way. When the Zillow concierge calls us, I don't know if you can see that, the lights are bright, but it says Zillow concierge, and then it says $, $, $. When I get a call from that number, that rings both Russell and I at the same time. That is the concierge. Zillow's concierge is a 250-person call center. They're intercepting our leads and then trying to reach those people within 90 seconds. If they reach that person and get them on the phone and engage them on a conversation and confirm that they are a buyer, that they're not an agent, that they're not renting, that they are in the process and they do want to talk to an agent, they call me or they call our number and it rings Russell and I. And then it's a jump ball between Russell and I to answer that call. But when that pops up on my phone and it says Zillow concierge with $, I know I have to take that call. Okay, that's a critical call to take, because that is money coming into us. That is someone who's raised their hand, said we are going to buy a house and we want to work with an agent. And by the way, let's go. So the concierge does a live handoff to us. The other time, I've learned and I wrote this out, so when you guys get the 5 core rules, when you download it, I wrote it all out in here, and I've got scripts in here and the whole 9 yards. When your phone rings, the #1 rule of lead conversion, and I'm passionate about this now, because I'd love to have the millions of dollars that I've lost back, answer your freaking phone. Because you don't know. Every $1 million plus buyer we've gotten this year, we've got 5 we've closed and have under contract. Every single one of those has been a direct phone call to me from my Zillow profile. Did not fill out a lead form, did not go through the concierge. They dialed the number that's on my profile, rings me direct, and I pick up the phone and talk to them. every single one of them was $1 million plus buyer. Or what I'm saying is all of our $1 million plus buyers that we've gotten this year have come from a direct phone call. So savvy people expect you to answer your phone. And, you know, Kristen, my girlfriend, you know, my phone rings and she's like, you got to answer it. It's money. You know, so we know that if we don't answer the phone, we potentially lost a lot of money, and they're going to just go to the next agent.
Hey, Mark, real quick. How do you answer the phone? I've called so many agents, and it's amazing how they actually answer the phone. When you got an incoming phone. All right, so you do it like, hey, this is Mark with Remax with some enthusiasm and excitement about talking to that person. Like,
yeah, good morning, it's Mark with Remax. How can I help you?
Okay, all right, yeah, because so many times I call agents, and they're like, they sound so rude or pissed off that you called. It's like, okay, if I would have been a client, you would have lost me, dude.
Yeah, and how do you even get them to answer the phone? So
yeah, and a lot of times they don't answer the phone.
I know from my days in recruiting that less than 30% of agents answer their phone. So if you want to increase your GCI on an annual basis, number one tip, answer your phone. Because we live now, obviously, in a society where your phone number and your contact information is plastered everywhere. If somebody wants to talk to you about real estate and you've positioned yourself as the expert in the market through your Facebook or through your Google or whatever, answer your phone.
Here's another power tip that's really annoying. If anything you email out, have your phone, your name, and your company in text, real text, not a freaking logo. It's big. It's got the phone number on there. It shrinks down. One, they can't read the damn thing. Number two, people want to just click on the phone number. If it's in an image, they can't click to call. You're missing out on calls because you're putting these images that you think so cool, and they're big too, and they're made for desktop. And when they shrink down, you can't read the darn things, and you can't click to call. So start putting your phone numbers in your signature in text, because on the phone you can actually click and call you, because you may be sending something to somebody and they want to call you but they can't, and they get frustrated because they can't.
Right, and over, I'm pretty sure it's true for the Google side as well, but on our Zillow, over 50% of our inquiries are via mobile. In other words, they're looking at the Zillow app on their phone, and they're punching my phone number that's next to my face in my profile and just calling. So that's how they're reaching us. They're not looking, you know, it's just done.
Yeah, and the same thing, if they're getting email updates of new listings you're sending them and stuff, and if you've got some weird image on there and they like this property, a lot of people will still call and they want to click and call, but they can't because you got this lame image down there with a phone number embedded in it, and it's just not clickable.
Right. So those are the main sources, is the inbound phone calls, and then if the lead fills out the request form on Zillow, then the concierge will make an attempt to contact them within 90 seconds.
Right.
I saw a really cool graphic. I put it up on the mastermind group the other day about, and it may have come from you, Jeff, I don't know, but the InsideSales.com and the Harvard Business Review graphic that showed the impact of response time and what days are best and what times of the day are best and all of that. But the response time, it's a 10x higher likelihood that you're going to reach the lead if you're calling them within, I believe it's 3 minutes now. It's even gone down from 5 minutes. So the concierge is trying to contact them within 90 seconds by phone, text, and email, and then they'll continue that for an additional 15 attempts of phone, text, email over the course of 30 days. If they don't reach them in 30 days, statistically, based on the hundreds of thousands of leads that Zillow works with every day, they've recognized that if there's no response after 30 days, it's so statistically immeasurable that they just let it go.
So let me ask you a question. So those leads are coming in. Are they also coming to you, or are you solely depending on them?
Both.
Both. Okay, so those leads are coming in, and if they don't get a hold of them, then what are you guys doing, and where are they going, and what's happening?
So So we have, now that you have auto text with the BombBomb, they get a text from us. They get a BombBomb video from me that talks about introducing myself, that I'm a human, I'm not a robot, auto responding to them, and that Zillow is a great place to start, but that if you really want to know what's actually on the market and stop the frustrating process of looking at homes on Zillow and then calling and then realizing that they're not actually for sale. Less than half of the actual inventory for our market is on Zillow. And so it's really important that you drop down to the link in the video to austinhomesforsale.org and sign up for our daily search for homes so that you got live active listings to look at and not a bunch of misinformation. So I'm pulling them in through Zillow and then telling them immediately get off of Zillow and get into our Geek site.
Okay.
Then they get an email. We built our own system a couple of years ago that we just use internally that also sends them a voicemail via Sly Broadcast or Sly Dial. So from Zillow they're getting texted. From us, they're getting texted. You got to fly in here, and then they're also getting email, voicemail, text. Then if they don't respond, then we put them into the 10 days of pain.
Kill that fly already. Next time it lands on your forehead, just smack yourself.
Yeah, let me do that. Sucker.
Right. So if you don't get them, it goes through all that. Now, if you get connected up with them, are you guys making? Hey, Mark, are you guys making any outbound calls as well, or are you just depending on the concert?
If it's like a high-end property and we see it and they haven't, the dog's going to come in. If it's a high-end property and we see it's something we want to go after, then we'll pick up the phone. If we haven't heard from the concierge within 5 minutes.
Okay, and then let's say they transfer it over to you guys and you talk to them. Obviously, you're trying to book an appointment and do all that, but what else are you doing? Let's say they're not ready yet, or you go on an appointment and they're still not ready, like you mentioned earlier. What are your processes and what are you doing? And
then I ask their permission to get them onto a search through our Real Geek site so that I can send them relevant listings every day when new stuff comes on the market or when there's price changes, so that they're getting the most up-to-date information straight out of the MLS versus hopping around on Google or on Zillow and Trulia and all that. Mm-hmm. And also, we're dripping on them market reports. We set them up on a market snapshot, mm-hmm. Buyer market snapshot, and then just trying to stay in touch with them. But I have a series of emails that goes out. Have you considered being an investor? Have you, basically Ben Kinney's 10 Days of Pain that he did way back when? Those are still very, very effective.
All right, so you do that, and then how often do you follow up with them with a phone call or text?
So then they fall. So if they don't transact immediately or set an appointment immediately, then I will assign them to one of our buyer's agents for follow-up, and then it also falls into the ISA in the Philippines to call them twice a week to do follow-up and nurture for them.
All right, and let me ask you, because I know you track your numbers, do you get a decent amount of them that don't convert right away, but when you put them in those drips and stuff, come back later? And then what does that time frame look like?
It's probably, I'd say within 90 days we'll resurrect. We usually will resurrect 2 to 3 transactions a month out of old leads, and it's there's also, I put it in the handout, but there's a 9-word email that I send out every month to the entire lead database that just says, are you still looking for a home in the Austin area?
I was wondering if I could guess what that was.
Yeah. And so, that goes out routinely every 30 days, and so it's a it's that one email is worth thousands of dollars because they will come back and say either no or not. So we wipe them out and we stop trying to market to them, or
Sure.
we already bought with another agent, which means we've got to raise our game again and get our skill sets even better. Or yes, we are, and we're going to buy in 3 months, and we've got to sell our house first. Can you come list our house? So, it's that email is generated typically at least a couple of deals a month for us.
Right, and then are you finding some longer ones that have been on the website that have been getting those that come back later too? Or,
we've had them 2 years. 2 years. They've had 1,400 searches, and it's crazy because obviously in the back end of Real Geeks we can see their entire history, where they came from, and how long they've been there, and all of that. So it's we treat them all the same, and we lose. It's the same thing on the listing side with the ISA generating listing appointments for us and opportunities. I mean, we lose more than we get, but I'm okay with that because we're seeing the opportunities. And you're not always going to beat, I've got a friend in the business, or my friend's going to give me half the commission back when I buy a house, or whatever. There's some people out there doing some stupid stuff right now. But it's we're getting our fair share, but we're having to work to get it for sure.
Right, and then are you finding that some of these leads are a certain percentage are sellers as well, or do you got just a lot of first-time buyers in your area, or relocation?
It's actually probably, I would say, I'm just pulling a number because I'm just going on conversations that I have with the buyer's agents, but I'd say 20 to 25% of our leads have to sell a house before they buy the next house.
They're locally, or are you finding in your area they're relocating? Because I know Austin's kind of a
both. I mean, okay. Austin's a huge target market inbound, but it's both. So we'll either refer them to an agent in their market, but we're always asking the question, hey, do you have a home to sell? Even if you're in Boise, Idaho, because I can refer you to a great agent up there. And then.
And what's your normal script, or kind of what are you asking them on the first call? I mean, they're inquiring and probably coming in on about a property, and then let's say you get it handed off, or one that they didn't get a hold of, but you guys got a hold of.
Well, I don't remember where this came from because I'd give them credit, but one of the first things I say is, hey, I just want you to know, my name's Mark Martin with Remax. I'm walking over to my computer. While it's getting fired up, do you have a pen and paper handy? And I ask them to write down my name and number so that in case we get disconnected or something happens over the call, they'll know it's me calling them back. And it just interrupts them because they're not expecting to have to do work or do homework.
Right, so you're giving them a pattern interrupt like Matthew Ferry would talk about. They think it's going to go some way, and you get them off bounds.
Yeah.
And I think even Chris Smith even talks about that in his book, The Conversion Code. Yeah. So let's give him some credit too.
Yeah, there you go. So that's probably where it came from.
You probably got that there. Okay. So and you're giving them attention too, like, hey, I'm going to be. Yeah, I better listen. This guy's serious.
Right. Right.
All right. So you're doing that, and then what are you saying after that, or kind of how's the conversation go?
And then I'm talking about, hey, so tell me a little bit about, give me the address again. Because a lot of times, almost all the time, it's not our listing they're calling on, okay? And so a lot of buyers have in their mind that they can call the listing agent and they're going to get a better deal, or they're going to get the commission back or something. That doesn't happen in Texas. Well, it can happen, but that's not the way we do it. So I try to alleviate that up front also. So if it's not our listing, I ask them to repeat the address back to me. Say, hey, I'm going to jump on the MLS and pull that up for you, make sure it's actually for sale, and get all the information for you. What was that address again? And I go into, that's not actually our listing. Do you understand how agency works in Texas and why it's so important to be working with a buyer's agent like myself?
Okay, so you start to educate them and explain, like, hey, it's better to do this.
Right. And we actually, Matthew on my team, wrote a $350,000 new construction contract yesterday with an $8,000 bonus, and the buyer had called in on Zillow on one of my listings, and then and I got her over to Matthew. We started down the process, set an appointment with her. I got a call from another agent with a listing in the same complex, and he said, "Hey, can I show your listing tomorrow?" And I said, "Well, that's kind of odd because I was going to ask you if I could show yours tomorrow too. Who did you just get a call?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I said, "Was her name Ceci?" He's like, "Yeah." And I said, "Well, she's calling around listing agents, so I've got her, and I'm going to show her our unit, and I've got her set up to show your unit. Basically, she's my client now." And then we were able to convert her into signing a buyer's rep agreement and signing. We took her and showed her properties and got her with a builder, and she's buying a condo.
Nice.
So it's all about the conversation and about just being friendly and being engaging and educating them on the process and on why it's important to use a buyer's agent and why that protects them during the transaction and why it's important to hire a strong negotiator, because ultimately your goal is to get the best deal possible, right? So that's my job.
All right, good. And then you got those scripts on that document there?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. All right, Frank, you got any questions? Or is there any more that you want to share on the process of what you guys are doing down this funnel? I think we've covered most of it, right?
Yeah. It's if we don't get them the first call, the first conversation, then we're trying to really hammer on them the importance of getting in and getting their permission to set them up on a search in Geeks, so that we can drip those daily properties to them. And I tell them you can favorite properties in there. It's a great interface. You're going to love it. The pictures are awesome. It's really easy to use, and you can favorite, and then I'll be able to see when you favorite a property, and I can check on it for you. And behind the scenes, without even you having to call me, I'll be looking to make sure that that's still available. And if you want to go see that, you let us know. So.
Okay, good.
One thing I want to touch on that's in the document that I see a lot of agents and a lot of team leaders, the big buzzwords in the industry now are expansion, ISAs, buyer's agents, teams, all this stuff, right? And where I see a lot of agents making mistakes as I'm coaching people across the country is they've got these huge funnels that they're bringing a ton of leads into, and then they're just sending them to their buyer's agents. They're either on a round robin, or they're on or they're just sending them to the buyer's agents and expecting the buyer's agents to convert. And I would encourage people to read Predictable Revenue. Your closers are not your best converters, and they're certainly not your best nurturers. So I preach, and while it takes a little time, and while, yes, I've got to answer my phone when it rings, but that's money. And if you are good at lead conversion, there's a reason you're the team leader. There's a reason you're the top agent in your market. If you're good at lead conversion, why hand that off to somebody else if they're not as capable as you are? Until such time as they're as capable as you are at lead conversion, don't hand off lead conversion. If you've got too many leads, slow down the flow. Slow your roll, as Steve Harvey says, because lead conversion is where you make the money. Lead generation, you can buy the business. We can all buy business. I can spend, thousands upon thousands of dollars in multiple different things and attract leads. But it's the quality of the lead and then being able to convert the lead into an actual contract is where the money's made.
Yeah, I would agree 100%. The money's in the follow-up, they always say, right? The follow-up and persistence and converting them. It's not about generating the lead. You can generate leads like crazy.
A good buyer's agent can't handle more than 20 or 30 leads a month if they're good, decent quality leads. If you're giving a buyer's agent 100 leads a month, all of a sudden 6 months in, he's got 600 leads to follow up with. He can't do that, he or she. So
yeah, I agree.
So they get lost. And if you don't have the back end hitting those leads with, hey, are you still looking to buy a home in Austin? And somebody's calling them and whatever, they go on to the next agent.
I would agree. I would agree. Hey, Frank, you got it? Is there any questions there, or I think
No questions. We just have one. One question is the document that we're referencing. I gave the link a little bit earlier where you can download it. Hold on, let me pull it up. I'll give it again. How's that sound?
Yeah, realestatechampions.com/ILC for internet lead conversion.
Yep, realestatechampions.com/ILC, Susan. You can pick it up there, right?
Yep.
No,
Awesome.
I don't have any further questions. It's a very narrow topic today. Normally, it's about the whole story of how someone grew, right?
Right.
But this is a very narrow topic on how do you convert portal leads, and you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, I think
What else
so.
to add?
All right,
I guess I
great.
could ask one more thing, being I'm the viral marketing guy.
Okay.
What are you doing to nurture these things over a long period of time, beyond just like the first couple weeks or 30 days?
It's very hit and miss, and that's why I'm hiring viral marketing to.
Well, that wasn't a leading question to that, but I appreciate it.
Yeah. So I thought that's where you might want to go. But we've got 5,000 something leads in our back end of our. I think we've got 2,400 or so in the back end of Real Geeks. We've got another couple thousand in the back end of Zillow. We're losing deals. We know that. So we've got to constantly
You got past clients. You got Sphere, right?
Right.
So we're going to round up all those contacts and we're going to start publishing videos out, and we're going to help you all out with that. A couple questions. What's Jeff's budget for Zillow?
Jeff or me?
Jeff.
Mark.
I'm sorry, not Jeff. Mark.
I spend right now. We just expanded. We just started an expansion group in Naples, Florida. So I just added $2,400 to my spend for Naples. But our total spend right now is $14,000, and I've got a lender that pays $4,000 of that. And so our net out of pocket today, it hasn't been this high up until now. Up until about a week ago, we were spending $10,000 to $11,000 a month, and our lender was paying $3,000.
What's your cost per lead? Like for every 1,000 you spend, how many leads?
Well, $89 is what it costs me per lead on average.
So all said and done, on average, you're spending $89 per lead on Zillow, which are good leads because they want to contact an agent.
But I did the calculation of what he's spent year to date and what he's closed and it's got in escrow, and it's 8.5 times ROI.
Correct.
Generated from what he's spent.
We've spent about 41,000 so far this year, and we have, what is it, Jeff?
I don't have it.
53,000 in GCI.
Something like that. I did the math. So what I did is I divided it by what the income produced or in escrow, and it was 8.5 times, which is a good ROI.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. I wonder what the cost per lead is on Zillow for different markets.
Here's one thing I would also be doing besides doing the viral marketing stuff is you've got this whole database of all these leads. You can upload them. You should have your Facebook pixel on your website. So but you can upload them into Facebook and create an audience and now start hitting them with Facebook, because now you can digitally. You can send them email, couple videos a month through Frank's company, but I would also be uploading that audience and start targeting these people through Facebook marketing, because it's very cost effective and you can start getting a lot more engaged.
I uploaded Zillow yesterday and I had 1,900. So Facebook will tell you I uploaded 2,400 or something email addresses, and Facebook came back and matched 1,900 of those. So
That's
that means that,
what percentage is that? That's pretty good. That's like what, 75%? Is that something like that? That's pretty good. What's the math on that?
Yeah, so that's 1,900 people that it'll be able to retarget through the ads that I did in the Real
totally.
Geeks Facebook.
All right, good. All right, good.
Frank, what did you say a minute ago, Frank, about the cost per lead?
No, Austin's a great market. Like everyone's moving there and things are moving. Like, one of the key number that you want to know for anyone doing advertising is like, Mark's spending, saying, oh my gosh, $14,000, that's an insane number. But it really is like, what's your cost per 1,000 spent, or what's your cost per $100 spent? What you're really trying to say is like, how much money am I going to spend to get someone to give me their contact information that's hopefully a good lead, right? And at the end, once you know that number, then you can start making your calculations of how many leads you need, to what your average commission is, and to calculate return on investment. That's the key number to know, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just curious. I mean, like, you know what you're paying in Naples? Or like, I'd be interested to know, to ask different people at Zillow what their cost per lead is.
Yeah.
What was it last time we talked? Wasn't it a lot higher?
No, we're averaging $89 here, and Naples is going to cost me $111. It's a higher price point. There's fewer actual buyers because it's a second home market, third home market for some of the people, but it's there's more impressions. So I've got a.
If I spend $1,000 on Zillow, would I get like 8 leads in Naples?
You get 11 leads. Okay, but those are high quality leads. So if you can, it only takes one. You know, and at a $500,000 average price or $600,000 average price, that's $18,000. So if you spend $1,000 to make 18, that's not bad.
Okay, so let me ask you another math question. Since we're playing some math, we got some time. How much of your commission are you willing to spend to get the business? What percent?
15% tops.
Okay, that's interesting to see. I usually hear 10 to 15.
Right.
So, anyways, I'm putting together an article that we publish soon about like internet marketing and advertising. I want to put some of these numbers in there, but not make it too complicated. Once you know the cost per lead and how much you're willing to spend to get the deal, you can really start calculating what it's worth to spend on advertising and make sense of these big numbers that everyone throws around that make sense.
Well, so I was in a room, Frank. I was in a room with 350 of the biggest spenders on Zillow, so I'm in that group. And I'm the small fish. There's people spending. There's a guy in Washington D.C. spending $150,000 a month. There's a guy. Yeah. Ben. I'm not going to quote Ben Kinney's spend because I don't remember exactly what it is, but it's up there. There's a guy in my market spending $35,000 a month. In Austin, he's doing $70 million a year in Zillow. So in sales, you know, we're spending. $12,000 a month in Austin, and we'll generate, $750,000 in GCI from that. So what is that divided by 0.03? About 21 million, 25 million in volume. So you know, I'd love to spend $100,000 a month because if I know if I can spend $100,000 a month, I can make $1 million a month. So that's as long as that keeps working out and the ROI is still there, we're going to continue to look for ways to grow it.
Cool. All right, Jeff, you want to wrap up?
Yeah. I'd just like to thank everybody for coming and thank Mark for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Aloha.
All right, see you guys.